Hey everyone, and welcome to my Procreate demo for the piece I just call Ol' One Eye. So this was a little bit of a different style for me, but in this I really wanted to focus on brushes because a lot of you have asked about my brushes that I've been using. I use all the standard brushes from Procreate, so for the pencil sketch of this I just used the one that's called Technical Pencil in the sketching tab. Here's me just sort of trying it out. It's a pretty standard good pencil, not quite as good as the pencil from Adobe Sketch, but otherwise very nice. So here I am just laying in the rough sketch for this piece. I had like some artist block for a couple days and I was just doodling a bunch of random stuff that sort of didn't go anywhere. So this was one that I sketched and then sort of tossed aside and then came back to it and thought that I would actually do something with it. So all this is here is me doing the very rough part, and then after you see that I'll lower the opacity on it, do a new layer, and then just start doing a slightly tighter version. I didn't know what I wanted to do with it at the time. I didn't know if it was going to be rendered. I just didn't know what I wanted to do with it. Part of this whole Procreate journey has been a combination of just trying to do some fun pieces, but also trying to learn it and see what I can do with the constraints that Procreate gives you. So with this, I was gonna maybe render it, and then I thought, no, let's try like a slightly different style. So anyways, here I am doing the slightly tighter version of the sketch, using the same technical pencil that I did the rough sketch for and that I demoed a second ago. So really this is me just hunting and pecking for something that's somewhat interesting. Always looking to try and tell some sort of a story, even if there isn't really much of a story beat. So that's where the eye patch and the scars and the just sort of interesting look she has came from. Just how can I make her seem like she's got something going on besides the image that you're looking at. So now for the inking part, I used this pen, the brush pen, just from the inking set. Here I am trying it out. Now, one thing to know with this is the thin part is only when you begin the stroke. And then if you keep it constant, then it stays thick and fat and gloopy. So you can't really stroke away and get a thin line. You have to actually stroke sort of towards yourself or towards the opposite direction that you want the point to be in, I guess you could say. So right here is me then starting to ink it, never using it before, and really trying to get a feel for it. So at the beginning you'll see some of these lines might be a little bit clumsy, and then you can see I start finally getting it. In that little demo that I just did, that was done after this piece because I wanted to sort of talk about that more in this video. So you'll see that I probably really hit the stride of learning the brush when I go in and start doing the eyebrow, and then I go back through a couple of spots and try to sort of redo that technique in other areas. See right here, you can see that I'm finally understanding exactly how this brush works. So a bunch of little short strokes to get that feathered look, then go back in with to sort of thicken up that bottom edge to make that part clean. You can also see some of the spots in the scar. There's some interesting pen work that is just interesting in the sense that it's better than just like big fat gloopy line that has no characteristic to it. So at this point, I'm inking it. I sort of was just inking it with these sort of more, I don't know, comic booky lines. I didn't really know if this is the way I would actually finish it. I think I actually stopped working on this halfway through and was going to go do something completely different, and then thought, you know, that might have some merit to it. So I went back to this piece. I think you'll eventually see I start going in underneath the neck and doing like a couple more sort of finer lines to gradient that out. Yeah, right there, just a couple. So that's me finally going, oh, I get how this works. I get how this pen works. So lastly, for the coloring, I used the Grzinski ink brush from the artistic section. It was just cool because it had a lot of texture to it, and I knew I was going to do flats. So it's just cool. It's got a grain to it. There's not much more to say. It's got a nice little bit of opacity to it so that when you layer it in, you can sort of see all the work that goes on underneath it, which is just nice for keeping it interesting. So the whole thing was just then a lot of flat, a lot of just trying to go with like a really basic look. You can see there I played with the halftone brush that Procreate provides, but I didn't really dig it. Oh, the last thing that I should explain that I did to knock back the lines is I created an overlay of the entire image that's just a solid color that was the same color as the background. Then I used that Grzinski brush and erased away everything so that it would still leave a little bit of the texture over the lines. So there's a layer all the way on top that's that, basically. And at the very end there's some details that sort of get lost in the time lapse. But all in all, it was a quick piece, and it was pretty fun to do. So I hope you like this brush spotlight. Thanks for watching. And if you're looking for me on the internet, these are the places where you can find me.